Welcome to the Digital Marketing Insights podcast, brought to you by Brightside Digital.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to say today we have Kathryn, who's a digital marketing and social media specialist. Kathryn, how are you doing?
Good, Tom. Good. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you for doing the show. Kathryn, we always start off the same and we ask everyone, first and foremost, can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose first of all, Tom, thanks so much for having me on today. Um, but yeah, I suppose a little bit about me. I work for a non-for-profit called Mocker Firma. We're based here kind of in the farm centre, but we have clubs all around the country. So I'm kind of do a bit of everything here, but my main role, I suppose, as you said there, is digital marketing and um social media. So there I touch on a bit of everything from like website, events, social media would be a big one. So a bit of everything. I suppose before this role I was actually working in marketing agency. So it's kind of like a social media marketing agency. So that was kind of like my first role just coming out of college. I would have went to college down in Waterford, so WIT. There I studied business and I specialised into marketing. And I would have done like an internship with a company called Neoform, a tech company. And I suppose after working there, I just knew that like it was definitely the area I wanted to get into, and it really opened up my eyes to like how big the world of marketing is. I suppose you don't really realize that when you're studying it first in like college, but like there's just so many different areas and how specialized it is. It really, really opened my eyes to that. So I suppose when I finished there, like my last semester in college, it was we landed into lockdown and there was no job. So um, I decided that I knew I was going to get a job. I was determined I was going to get a job in marketing. So I decided to do a part-time master's with TUD in Dublin. So that was digital marketing and analytics there, which was really good. And yeah, I would have landed my job then with the agency before moving over here to Mockra. So it's been a whirlwind, but I suppose that's a bit about me.
Brilliant. And now looking back at where you are today, what would you see as your main strength in digital?
I think just from my experience so far, definitely social media. Um, expect like I suppose in the last role it was really like promoting businesses, getting their word out on social, getting people to recognize who they are even. I would have even seen some businesses come from complete startups from like this is the idea, how can we spread the word? And it's like social. Um and now where I am now, it's really like we capture like the audience and like drive them back to our website. And you really see it more and more that more people are looking for socials or looking at social media before you even buy something online. Now you find people are looking at their social media to be like, how good are they actually? um Aside from that, I suppose one that's really come to light for me in the last year or two is like emails and newsletters. So I suppose e-letters, um they're something that they're good informative tools, and they're good for getting out information. And I suppose they can drive landing pages then to your website as well, which are really interesting as well. It's really interesting
Brilliant.
as well.
And to touch more on social for a moment, what do you, what's your preferred platforms, and do you have any tips for our audience about how they can navigate and improve their socials?
Um, I suppose this is something like you should always look at like what your business is. I see so many people that like just see Instagram, Facebook, and they're like, right, just slap it all up. But like it's so important to look at like what your business is. Like if you're B2B, like you probably don't really need Facebook and Instagram. Some people might argue with that, but I don't see it being too important. Because if you're B2B, that's like your businesses are on LinkedIn. Like the working people are on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is really important. But then if you're B2C, you're selling product, or you just want to get people to know about like your service and stuff, that's where like Instagram, Facebook is really good. And I suppose like you can't go without talking about TikTok nowadays. It's an incredible source, and it's probably the main influence of how Facebook and Instagram is changing as well, especially Instagram going to more like reels and pushing video now as well and content like that. Um, so they're really important. It does depend what you are. So I suppose us as a non for profit, our members like to see themselves being recognized. So that's where you show them on like your Facebook, your Instagram. But then on our LinkedIn, we're kind of like letting people know what we're doing as an organization. And that's kind of to drive maybe people being interested in giving us sponsorship or getting sponsorship down the line. People might be like, oh, yeah, we'll see what they're doing. And even on Twitter, we might do a bit more. It's kind of like LinkedIn, because you just see a lot of policy works up there and a lot of TDs are there. So I suppose you're really dependent where you are, on what you're trying to target. Like that, TikTok as well. We try to show our events and things we're doing there because it just shows like we're a rural youth organization. So you're kind of getting the youth at the forefront. There's no point getting into the nitty gritty of like meetings are on here, meetings are on there. You just want to show the fun and social aspect there.
Is there any particular social campaigns or work that you're really proud of that, had a really good either result or outcome?
I suppose here in Mokra, we every year since like so before I worked for Mokra, I would have actually been a member for years. Only really appreciate everything head office does now, I suppose, since I started here. But every year it's always been known that in March there's always a membership drive. So the the year for our members would run September, so you kind of pay your membership in September. But it's always been a on I suppose known thing to really familiar people. But like the mockery year, you can get a discount for 18 months for the price of 12 from March. So you pay the same price as you would in September if you join in March if you're a new member. I suppose this was something that was never advertised before, me starting here this year, and I kind of got on the bandwagon in January, and I was just like, right, this is something we're going to hone in on. We're going to, really advertise, really push. And I got some like really good content done up at our events that are happening in January and February, and just pushed it for the whole month. Pushed really good content, quality content. It's because quality is better than quantity, especially when you're showing off an organization or a business. And yeah, it was really successful. You could see loads of members come back being like, wow, you're really showing like what Mocker's all about. And it was really good advertisement for the company. And it just, the feedback from members from other organizations um, that had come back to us, it was really good. So I suppose that was really nice for me to get that back after I suppose all the work that would have went in beforehand.
That's brilliant. And in terms of reporting, is do you have a method to kick out your results? Do you have KPIs that you've set or someone else has set, or how do you know about your success and your growth in your role?
Yeah, so I suppose I'd have my own KPIs that I've set out. So that's in terms of like not just like followers and things like that, but like your engagement, how people are interacting, are people sharing. And before a campaign, I'd set what I'd like that to be. Um, and then I kind of measure that through the likes of like Soho Social, or even on our like we do a lot of news releases and press releases, into like I suppose digitally online, and then they go into actual newspapers as well. So we use the likes of Media HQ for that. So that's a really good tool as well because you get all your insights and reporting back from that. And we also use RuPoint, um, which come back. They kind of like gather everywhere where Mocker has been mentioned. So from like newspapers, online, on websites and stuff like that. And I think like from November last year till May of this year, we had like I think it was just over 3,000 mentions in like mention on sorry in like newspapers and like your online newspapers as well per se, which was incredible as well. But that was a good push, especially coming out of COVID. It just shows what we really can do as an organization as well.
You mentioned Media HQ, which would have been my next question around the support in kind of softwares.
Yeah.
But for our audience, can you explain a little bit more in detail on Media HQ? I'm familiar with it, and also what you think its impact is on Irish journalists or writers or editors and stuff. How you find it for an Irish market as well.
Um, I suppose before starting this role, I had no real, I, not, so- sorry, before starting this role, I suppose I hadn't really worked with newspapers. I hadn't touched on the landscape at all. So I suppose as a resource to start with, they're so good. Like I had an hour's training with the guys, just to really get a grasp of the platform. So they are really really good, and they're good at following up if you have questions and things like that. But as you're saying there in the Irish landscape, I personally think it's amazing. Like you have like your journalists and your newspapers at literally like a touch of a button. Like I can go in and I can see who might I need to contact in Farmers Journal or the Farming Independent, and just because that's related to my field. So you're not just sending out things aimlessly into journalists that won't be able to pick up on it and it's not an interest. We're actually getting our news releases and articles right to the right person. It's landing on the right desk. And I suppose it allows them to contact me also if they want to cover something that's happening, or if they want a comment from Mockra or something that's going on in the news and things like that. So I suppose it's just actually after really helping connect people, because I suppose like who would have known of me only that my name was up on that resource. Like you're not going to know of people who are working in different areas unless it's there and it's readily available. So I do think it's a really really good tool, and certainly like they're developing it all the time. I think I was actually had a call there today that they're updating it even more. So there's new features and stuff coming out. So it's a great tool. Definitely a great tool to use.
Brilliant. And just to ask, is there any other additional kind of softwares and stuff that you use, especially from a social point of view, that you might not have mentioned already?
Yeah, so I don't know if I've already said this, but I use the likes of Zoho Social. So I would have used that in my last job with the social guys. But it's really handy. So just say if I was to post up something, like it's a scheduling platform, but it gives you insights on like your best times to post, when people are most interactive with you, like who are the people that are interacting with you most, your recent interactions. But it can give that all back to you. um it can give you like 3 months condensed together worth of like reporting and insights all to one, which is great when I suppose you have to, as a marketer, like you have to feed back these reports to management, so to prove what you're doing is working, I suppose, in a way. Well, not prove, but like show what you're doing is working. So that's a really good tool. And then I suppose everyone, I suppose, nearly uses Canva nearly at this rate, or has an idea of it. So the likes of that is very good as well.
To focus on yourself for a second, Kathryn, is there any areas you're looking to upskill into and why?
Um, God, I suppose I was thinking about this question. Like I just find like as marketers, like I obviously have a good few friends in the field as well. You're nearly expected to be this like amazingly creative person just because you're in marketing, which if you're in that area, you definitely are to a certain extent. So I suppose I would like to, just like I was mentioning there, I do use Canva quite a bit. So I suppose maybe in the area of like graphic design, I'd like to definitely go into that a bit more. Um, but definitely it's upskill. I think it's just you're always constantly learning. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts like this one, and there's loads of them out there, or like the reading newsletters. I think you can constantly upskill yourself a little bit, but then um sorry, the likes of like content marketing, um, that's definitely an area I want to grow my skills in a lot more as well. So I've been looking into a few courses into that as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. And yeah, and looking at the digital industry as a whole,
Yeah.
is there anything that you're thinking you're really excited about coming down the line?
Oh God, yes. I suppose I just think because of the likes of TikTok, which is like a phenomenal platform and it's constantly grown, and I really do think it influences the likes of like Instagram and other websites as well. But like I think did I read it or hear it somewhere? The likes of like influencers think will always be important, like they are like a new age of marketing. But I think the fact of like content creators, that you don't actually have to have this massive following. That like I think it's going to become bigger and bigger. That companies they just want content. It's you need more now than just a picture, which is why I think you see even influencers on the likes of Instagram and everything. They are posting more videos of actual content because that is where the industry is moving to. That we need video. People want to see video, but it has to be like interactive, engaging. You want to see a product working or how a service works or people's reviews. So I think it's going to move more from the fact of needing 10,000 followers to just actually producing good content and be good at it. And that if you can do that in volume, like I think that's an area that's going to grow. Um, I suppose work wise, like digitally, like we're changing as we're not changing. We're undergoing like a new brand here, which will be launching soon in September. Um, so I suppose that's going to be really interesting for me to see like how that develops. I suppose I know what's going to potentially look like digitally, but when that like rolls out and it's fully there and it's out there, just for the branding, like you're going to see it like online in print on. We're going to see it on like jackets and hoodies and everything like that. And like you're always going to have some adversity to change. So like I'm ready for that. I'm ready to hear that. But it's how people are open to it and how our brand becomes then more recognizable, or like every brand or organization or company, like yeah, if your brand is recognizable, you're fighting a constant battle. Whereas like the agency we would have used to undergo this brand, like the Mocker brand was like minus score in people being able to recognize the brand. So that's why we've undergone it, and it's just going to be really interesting to see post branding or the new brand how that goes from there. Then
Yeah, that would be really exciting. And yeah, I look forward to seeing that. Lastly, Kathryn, we always ask on the show, and it's a question to try and understand the people behind the roles a little bit more. And the question is, if you could bottle up one personality trait and pass it on to others, what would it be?
oh god, this is definitely the hardest question. I think as Irish people we hate boasting ourselves. I was actually talking to a friend last night and I was just like saying it to her, and she was like, Katrin, what are you on about? Like you're like you're so driven, and like I suppose being driven is being like self-disciplined. I suppose just with coming out of COVID and doing the masters part-time while also then working full-time, like that takes a lot of discipline to be turning down plans of friends and wanting to get it done. Um, I suppose that kind of ties in with just like I would I would like to think that I do think that I have like good integrity and honesty with jobs, like the like of this new brand. Like I want to see it through, but I'm not just doing it for the sake of doing it. Like you want to have pride in what you do. Um, I'm definitely like new enough into the whole marketing world, and I'm excited, I suppose, to see where I will be in 5 years' time. But like, I think you just need to have pride in the work you're doing. Like, it's what you're doing for the most part every single day. So if you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, it's no joy. Whereas if you actually like what you're doing and you're taking pride in it, no matter what your job is, I just think it'll show to other employees, like your fellow employees, your fellow coworkers. Your fellow coworkers will see that as well, and it's a good way of forming habits. Like I like before obviously the when I was in college or working part-time jobs, I think it's something I've always thought of is like, taking a bit of pride in what you do. Like I remember I used to work in a race course, and you'd be stacking bottles into a fridge, but like I'd be that person that's there stacking the bottles into the fridge and making sure all the labels are turned out right, just so when someone comes up to the fridge and they take out a bottle where it's the first one or the last one, it looks nice. So I suppose
Yeah.
that's just taking pride in that, but like that carries through then, that like forming that good habit of actually caring what you do when you go into a professional workplace. Then that's the thing of like turning up early every single day. um just having them good habits that like you're there, you're working, you're not getting distracted with being on your phone and things like that. But yeah, I suppose yeah, forming good habits will help you have good integrity throughout your working life, hopefully. Well, fingers crossed. Anyways, I'm definitely in the early path of my career, but yeah, fingers crossed.
It sounds like you're on the right path all the same. And Kathryn, I just want to say first and foremost, thank you so much for being on the show. And I'm sure everyone listening has loved what you had to say. So thank you.
Oh, thanks so much, Tom. I really appreciate it.